In a world so full of chaos, distraction, and speed, the greatest truths are not found in the noise. They are not hiding in the applause of the crowd or in the rush of achievement. They are discovered in stillness. The ancient teachings always point back to silence, to the space between thoughts, to the breath between breaths. The universe, or what some call God, does not shout, it whispers. And most fail to hear that whisper, not because they are not chosen, not because they are not worthy, but because they are too busy to be present. Stillness is not a passive state. It is not idleness. It is alertness, awareness in its purest form. To be still is to be fully awake, to observe without judgment, to witness without reaction. In that state, the mind becomes a mirror. It reflects what truly is, not what it imagines, not what it fears, not what it desires. And when you arrive in this space of clarity, you do not need to search for answers. The answers begin to appear on their own. Most people chase guidance in loud places. They look for advice from 1,000 voices, from books, videos, and opinions. But the truth cannot be outsourced. The wisdom that will save you, the warning that may protect you, is already within. It waits for your attention. It waits for your honesty. When you stop projecting and start listening, the voice of the divine becomes clearer. Not dramatic, not theatrical, but precise, firm, gentle, like the wind brushing across a lake, barely visible, yet transforming the entire surface. You cannot receive divine instruction when your mind is crowded. It's like trying to hear a soft flute in the middle of a thunderstorm. You must first calm the storm. You must reduce the noise. This is why stillness is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Meditation, walking in silence, observing nature. These are not spiritual hobbies. They are practices of remembrance. They bring you back to yourself. They strip away the layers of performance and expectation, until only the essential remains. To access this stillness, you must practice detachment from constant stimulation. Detachment not as rejection, but as spaciousness. You do not need to cling to every thought that passes. You do not need to identify with every emotion that arises. The moment you create space between the observer and the experience, you are beginning to reclaim your power. You are no longer driven by reaction, but guided by inner stability. And from that center, from that silence, wisdom begins to speak. The modern world teaches the opposite. It says be more, do more, speak more, post more. But the truth of your being is not found in your doing. It is revealed in your presence, a presence that grows not by accumulation, but by subtraction. Subtract the distractions, the comparisons, the compulsions. What is left is who you truly are, not what you pretend to be. And it is only this true self that can hear the sacred whisper. There is a reason the sages of old chose mountains, caves, forests. These places do not speak in language, but in silence. The silence of the mountain is filled with wisdom. The stillness of the forest does not need to explain itself. It simply is. In the same way, when you are still, you become a vessel. You stop resisting and start receiving. The messages that were always trying to reach you now have a place to land. Stillness is an invitation to remember. To remember that your value is not in your productivity. Your worth is not in your success. You were already enough before you tried to prove anything. You were already loved before you performed anything. But you forgot, and the noise made you forget faster. The pressure to become something outside of yourself drowned out the truth that you already were something sacred. Stillness reminds you of that. It is a return to what you never truly lost, only ignored. And it is in this silence that warnings arrive. not as threats, but as insights. You begin to see where you are out of alignment. You feel where you have been ignoring the truth. You remember what you've delayed for too long. These are not new lessons. They are old messages that you are finally quiet enough to hear. That is the final warning, not a punishment, but a truth that has waited for your attention. To hear the whisper of the divine, you must become the stillness it speaks through. You must become quiet enough, not only in voice but in mind. You must become light enough, not weighed down by guilt or ambition. You must be honest enough, not clinging to your illusions of control. Then, and only then, does the universe speak clearly. Then, and only then, are you ready to listen. Many believe that when something doesn't happen in the time they desire, it is a rejection. They interpret the silence as abandonment, the delay as denial, and the unanswered prayer as proof that they are forgotten. But this is a misunderstanding of timing, of purpose, and of the intelligence that governs life itself. What appears as a delay is often a deliberate design. A pause is not always a punishment, it is frequently preparation. Life does not operate by the urgency of your emotions, but by the rhythm of deeper alignment. There is a great difference between being ready in your desire and being ready in your discipline. A person can crave something with all their heart and still be unprepared to carry its weight. The delay is the universe's way of revealing to you the gaps that your eyes cannot see. The time between what you want and what you receive is sacred space. It is in that space that growth happens, not outwardly, but inwardly. It is there that you learn to sharpen your perception, deepen your patience, and stretch your faith. When something doesn't come to you, your first instinct is often to force, to chase, or to doubt. But these reactions only deepen the distance. The delay is not a wall to climb over, it is a mirror to look into. Ask yourself, who are you becoming in this space of waiting? Are you becoming bitter or better? Are you learning to trust, or are you rushing to control? If you cannot be trusted with time, how can you be trusted with destiny? There are messages that only arrive through delay. When the path is smooth and quick, you don't pause to reflect. You move too fast to notice. But when time slows down, when doors close, when answers don't come, something deeper begins to stir. You are forced to confront the real reason you want what you want. Is it born from ego or truth? Is it a need to be seen or a desire to serve? Delay strips the surface away and brings your motives into the light. In the silence of waiting, truth reveals itself. It shows you what you idolized. It reveals what you feared. It uncovers what you were depending on to feel whole. Delay purifies. It removes illusions. It resets the rhythm of your heart to match the pace of purpose. And in this waiting, if you are wise, you will listen, not with ears, but with your life. Every unanswered moment is not empty. It is alive with meaning. But to see it, you must slow down. You must stop demanding and start discerning. Consider this. The seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It needs darkness, time, and stillness. Not because it is being punished, but because growth must happen where no one can see. The same is true for you. The hidden seasons are not lost seasons. The delay is not evidence of absence. It is evidence of careful preparation. When something delays, ask not why it hasn't come. Ask instead, what is this time trying to teach me? Many times, people think they are waiting for an opportunity, when in truth, the opportunity is waiting for a version of them that is not yet mature. The delay is not withholding the gift, it is shaping the receiver. The time you spend in waiting is not wasted if you use it wisely. This is when you build your roots. This is when you develop clarity, humility, and discipline. This is when you are trained to hold the weight of what you once thought was light. When you treat delay as denial, you become impatient, discouraged, and reckless. But when you understand that delay is divine, you become peaceful, focused, and ready. Life is not here to give you everything you want at the moment you want it. Life is here to mold you into the kind of being that no longer chases outcomes, but lives in alignment. In alignment, you are not rushed because you trust the flow. You are not panicked because you know that what is yours cannot be lost. You are not anxious because you are rooted in something deeper than timing. You are rooted in truth. When the door does not open, pause. When the call doesn't come, breathe. When the answer is delayed, observe. What thoughts arise? What fears surface? What stories do you tell yourself? This awareness is the real work. Not just striving for results, but understanding the stories within the silence. If you listen carefully, you'll notice that delay teaches more than arrival ever could. It teaches surrender. It teaches resilience. It teaches you to stand still without losing your faith. Sometimes you are not being denied, you are being protected. Sometimes the thing you asked for was not the blessing, but the distraction. And the delay is saving you from chasing what would have consumed you. It is in the wisdom of life to give not only what you desire, but also what you are ready for. Readiness is not proven by want. Readiness is revealed in character, and delay often exposes the difference. In truth, there is no delay. There is only alignment. The moment you become the version of yourself that matches the intention you've asked for, life moves. But until then, the pause remains, not because life is cruel, but because life is precise. Like a master craftsman who sharpens the blade before the battle, life delays not to withhold, but to prepare. The question is not whether life will deliver what is meant for you. The question is whether you will be ready when it does. There is a silent agreement made between desire and discipline, a sacred bond that many break without realizing the cost. Everyone wishes for change. Everyone desires clarity, peace, strength, and transformation. But few are willing to endure the path that leads to such outcomes. Discipline is not the punishment of the strong. It is the structure of freedom. It is not something you add to your life for convenience. It is the foundation upon which all meaningful growth is built. When you avoid discipline, you are not avoiding discomfort. You are avoiding your own evolution. The very act of running from structure is a signal that something within you still resists becoming who you are meant to be. Discipline is not a momentary act of will. It is not a fleeting spark of motivation. It is a daily returning, a sacred repetition, a conscious alignment of your actions with your deepest values. It is easy to speak of wanting to improve, to transform, to rise, but speech is wind. Without action, the words become noise. Discipline is the fire that burns away illusion. It exposes what is real. It tests your sincerity. When you say you want peace, it shows whether you are willing to wake up early and sit in silence. When you say you want strength, it asks if you are ready to meet discomfort without retreat. It is the clearest mirror. It does not flatter. It reflects the truth of your priorities. Every time you avoid the discipline you know is necessary, a small part of you sends a warning. A tension arises. An uneasiness appears. This is not guilt. It is the signal of misalignment. It is your own inner compass telling you that you are moving away from the path. But most do not want to hear this signal, so they cover it with distraction, with noise, with temporary pleasures. Yet the warning remains. Unheard, it deepens. It becomes fatigue. It becomes confusion. It becomes an invisible weight carried throughout the day. You may not notice its source, but you will feel its presence. The discipline you avoid is not neutral. It is not a matter of personal preference. It is the gatekeeper to your future self. You cannot become resilient without discomfort. You cannot become wise without reflection. You cannot become stable without repetition. Every path of mastery, peace, or transformation is paved with routines, rituals, and responsibilities. To avoid them is to say no to the very life you claim to seek. And this is the deepest tragedy, not that people fail, but that they fail to begin. Discipline is not about control for the sake of control. It is about choosing alignment over impulse. It is about stepping into each day with intention, not drifting into it with reaction. A disciplined life is not harsh, it is kind. It frees you from the chaos of your emotions. It anchors you in storms. It creates a rhythm where before there was confusion. But like all true things, it is not easy. The beginning is heavy. The resistance is strong. But resistance is not proof that the path is wrong. It is proof that you are entering territory that matters. Every morning there is a choice: to return to the same patterns or to rise with purpose, to feed your distractions or to feed your discipline. These choices are small in the moment, but massive in consequence. Each repetition builds either a chain or a ladder. A chain that binds you to the past, or a ladder that lifts you toward what is possible. The results may not appear quickly, but they are forming. The invisible layers of strength are being built with each consistent act. This is how true change happens, slowly, silently, with discipline as the architect. There is a subtle form of self-sabotage that disguises itself as freedom. It says, follow your feelings, wait for inspiration, do it tomorrow. But freedom without structure is chaos. It is not liberation, it is disintegration. The very thing people call freedom often leads them into deeper bondage, to laziness, to anxiety, to regret. Discipline is the form that holds true freedom. When your life is aligned with a clear rhythm, you are free to move without fear, to think without confusion, to act without delay. You already know what needs to be done, the practice you keep putting off, the routine you keep interrupting, the commitment you keep postponing. These are not minor oversights. They are missed appointments with your destiny. And with every delay, the gap between who you are and who you could be grows wider. That gap is the warning. It does not yell, but it grows heavier. It becomes restlessness. It becomes shame. It becomes the quiet frustration that nothing is changing, even though you already know why. Discipline is not about being perfect. It is about being consistent. Perfection is brittle, one mistake and it shatters. But discipline is flexible. It allows you to fall and return, to lose your way and re-enter the path. It is a form of devotion, not to the world, not to an image, but to the truth within you, the part of you that knows what must be done. That truth will not force you, it will wait, but it will also remind you through tension, through discomfort, through missed peace. That reminder is not your enemy, it is your guidance. When you make discipline your companion, you no longer need to search for motivation. You no longer debate with yourself in the morning. You act not because it is easy, but because it is who you are. And when you live from that space, life becomes simpler. Not because the world changes, but because your inner world is no longer at war. The discipline you once avoided becomes the sanctuary you now rely on. It holds you together. It carries you forward. It builds you from the inside out, and that foundation becomes unshakable because it is not built on inspiration, but on intention. Time is the most generous yet misunderstood offering given to us. Every sunrise is a silent gift, not a guarantee. Every breath is a moment allowed, not a contract signed. Yet many walk through life as if they have been promised another day, another chance, another year. This illusion creates complacency, it dulls urgency, it turns sacred moments into something ordinary. But time is not ordinary, it is sacred, and it is slipping even now, even as you read these words. You were not promised to awaken this morning. You were not promised strength in your body or clarity in your thoughts. These were given to you freely, and the question is, what are you doing with what was given? The danger is not that life moves too fast. The danger is that we wait too long to begin living. Time does not stop for your hesitation. It does not slow down for your fears. It moves with perfect rhythm, indifferent to whether you are paying attention. People wait for signs, for confidence, for the perfect conditions. But while they wait, time moves. And with every moment that passes, a decision is being made, either to live deliberately or to live distracted. There is no in-between. You are either stepping toward your purpose or slipping into delay. The tragedy is not in death itself, but in the moments that were wasted before it. A life can end without ever having been truly lived, and that is the real loss. Many speak of having goals, dreams, and intentions. But the space between intention and action is where most lives get lost. Not because people lack the desire, but because they treat time as though it will always be there. They think that later will come, that tomorrow will be waiting, that the future will somehow be more supportive of their courage. But courage does not grow in the future. It is built in the present. It is the decision to act now, before comfort arrives, before fear disappears, before guarantees are made. Time humbles us because it reminds us that control is an illusion. You can manage schedules, plan weeks, structure years. But the truth remains, you are not in control of how long you have. That truth is not meant to create fear. It is meant to bring focus. It is a reminder that life is not to be postponed. Your purpose is not something to be scheduled when convenient. It must be honored while there is time, not later. Now, the greatest illusion is that time will eventually give you what discipline did not. That someday, without action, without commitment, you will become who you were meant to be. But time does not shape you unless you cooperate with it. It simply passes. It is not a sculptor unless your choices are the tools. Each day, each hour, is either sharpening you or softening you. The moments you waste in procrastination are not coming back. They are gone. The cost is not only in lost productivity. It is in lost transformation. What you could have become in those moments is no longer available in the same way. Time is the great equalizer. No one has more than the present moment. The rich, the poor, the powerful, the humble, they all exist within the same now. And how you use that now defines everything. It is not how much time you have that determines the quality of your life. It is how much attention, how much discipline, how much courage you bring into the minutes you are given. A life lived with urgency and clarity in 1 year can hold more meaning than a distracted life stretched over decades. You are not waiting for more time. Time is waiting for more of you, waiting for your presence, your action, your willingness to show up fully. The fear of running out of time is not what should awaken you. What should awaken you is the realization that you were never promised more of it in the first place. You were given enough to begin, enough to change, enough to become. If you look honestly, much of the time is not taken from you, it is given away. Given to distractions, to worry, to people who do not honor your path. It is not time that is missing. It is the discipline to guard it, the wisdom to value it, the courage to spend it on what matters. And that is why life will continue to whisper the same message. You are given time. Not forever, not endlessly, just this moment, this breath, this opportunity to rise, to choose, to align. Do not measure your life by the number of days you lived. Measure it by the depth with which you lived them. Time without meaning is emptiness, but even a single hour lived in full presence can shift the course of your life. When you live like you were promised nothing, everything becomes a gift. And when everything is a gift, gratitude becomes your state, urgency becomes your rhythm, and alignment becomes your guide. Time has no bias. It will pass whether you use it or not. But if you choose to meet it with discipline, presence, and courage, then even fleeting moments can leave a lasting legacy.